Hey there, fellow learners! Welcome back to another episode of Study Smarter, Not Harder. Today, let's dive into the world of studying, specifically the common mistakes we all make and how to overcome them. Like, remember that time you thought highlighting your entire textbook was a brilliant idea? Yeah, we've all been there. I've been there, done that, and let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. It felt like I was drowning in a sea of neon colors. I thought I was being super productive, marking up every single important-looking word. It felt like I was conquering the material. Turns out I was just fooling myself. The more I highlighted, the less I actually understood. I quickly realized that highlighting everything is basically highlighting nothing. It was a hard pill to swallow. My brain wasn't really processing the information. I was just on autopilot, going through the motions without truly engaging. This realization hit me hard during an exam when I could barely recall anything beyond those brightly colored lines. Panic set in. I knew then that I needed a new approach, something more than just passive highlighting. I needed to be active in my learning. This experience taught me a valuable lesson. Studying effectively isn't about just going through the motions. It's about being intentional. It's about actively engaging with the material and finding methods that truly work for you. Flashcards, discussions, and teaching others can be game changers. It's about understanding, not just memorizing. Deep comprehension is the key to long-term retention. So let's ditch the highlighter and dive into some common study mistakes and, more importantly, how to avoid them. Stay tuned for tips that will transform your study habits. We've all been there, staring at our notes, hoping the information magically seeps into our brains. It's a common scene, right? You sit down with the best intentions but soon find yourself lost in a sea of words and concepts. But let's be real, simply rereading notes or chapters is about as effective as trying to learn a new language by listening to a song on repeat. Sure, you might catch a few phrases, but deep understanding, not so much. You might pick up a few words here and there, but you won't be fluent anytime soon. This method gives a false sense of progress, making you think you're learning when you're really just skimming the surface. Another common trap is the "I'll remember this, it makes sense now" illusion. In the moment, everything seems clear and logical. We've all fallen for it. That fleeting moment of clarity tricks us into believing we've mastered the material. We understand something in the moment, so we assume it's safely stored in our long-term memory. But the reality is, without reinforcement, that understanding is temporary. But without actively trying to recall that information, it quickly fades away. Our brains need to be challenged to retain information effectively. The problem with these passive study methods is that they don't force our brains to work hard enough. It's like going through the motions without truly engaging. It's like expecting to get in shape by just thinking about going to the gym. You need to put in the effort, break a sweat, and push your limits. To truly learn and retain information, we need to challenge ourselves, to actively engage with the material. This means using techniques that make us think critically and apply what we've learned. Let's ditch these ineffective methods and explore some active learning techniques that actually work. By doing so, we can transform our study habits and achieve real, lasting understanding. Imagine trying to remember a phone number without writing it down. You might find yourself repeating it in your head over and over again, trying to keep it from slipping away. You repeat it over and over, testing yourself until you've got it. This process of actively engaging with the material is what we call active recall. That's active recall in a nutshell. It's about challenging your brain to retrieve information, rather than just passively reading or highlighting. Instead of passively reviewing notes, you actively try to retrieve information from your memory. This method is far more effective for long-term retention. Flashcards, practice questions, even teaching the material to someone else are all fantastic ways to put this into practice. Each method forces you to recall information, strengthening your memory. Now, imagine spacing out those phone number repetitions, gradually increasing the time between each review. This is where spaced repetition comes into play. That's the essence of spaced repetition. By spacing out your study sessions, you give your brain time to consolidate the information. This technique leverages the science of how our brains learn best. It takes advantage of the spacing effect, which shows that we remember information better when we review it over increasing intervals. By revisiting information at increasing intervals, we interrupt forgetting and solidify those memories. This method ensures that the information stays fresh in your mind. These methods might feel more challenging, but that's a good thing. The effort you put in makes the learning process more effective. They force our brains to work harder, creating stronger neural connections and leading to more effective learning. So embrace the challenge and watch your understanding deepen and your memory improve. We've all been there, the night before a big exam, fueled by caffeine and panic, trying to cram weeks' worth of information into our exhausted brains. But let's face it, cramming is like trying to build a house on a foundation of sand. It's stressful, ineffective, and the information learned is quickly forgotten. And the root of this cramming chaos? Often, it's procrastination. Putting off studying until the last minute might feel tempting, but it's like voluntarily signing up for a stress marathon. We end up sacrificing sleep, which is crucial for memory consolidation, and we don't give ourselves enough time to truly understand the material.